Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule impeccably well. And Shalom to the Archeum that's pushing its truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe in the sincere hopes of being delivered in these last days. This is the brother Yakanan from the GMS England branch. This is going to be a brief video inspired by, the story of George Stinney Jr. And, for those of you that are not aware or familiar with this story, it is basically an account of a so-called African-American young man, who was only 14 years old. And he was falsely accused of killing two Edomite girls. Two Edomite young girls. He was falsely accused of killing those two Edomite young girls. And, he was, as you can see here, in the title, he was actually put to death by way of the electric chair. And he was actually, the youngest ever documented individual, in the land of America to be executed in that fashion by the actual law system. Okay? And, like I said, I believe I've done a video in the past, years back, regarding this story, but, the spirit had me, going into the account again and reading, some of the details, and, I was compelled, to do another video on this, man, because, it's very important for us to remember why Esau Edom, the Edomites, are known as the wicked that the Bible speaks of. All right? There's a reason why they're known as the wicked. There's a reason why in the book of Malachi, they are described as the borders of wickedness. All right? There's a reason why they are our enemies. And there's a reason why Yahweh Shem Yahushai have ordained this nation to be destroyed from off of the face of the earth forever, pursuing to the book of Obadiah. There's a reason for all of these things. Okay? And it's always good, to go into these accounts to remind us how wicked Esau Edom actually is. Because right now, upon the face of the earth, he has assumed a facade, an illusion, that he is actually, an angel. That he is actually, a good person, a good, race of people. And that's why the scriptures say that even Satan is able to transform himself into an angel of light. And that's exactly what Esau Edom has done. But that veil of deceit is being revealed in these last days, man. And that's why all of these accounts, be coming out, and all of these, false and demonic judgments that Esau Edom has committed in the past are now being brought to light. Because he's being exposed. Like it tells us in the book of Jeremiah 49:10, the Lord said that he will make Esau bare, and he shall not be able to hide himself. And this is what we're experiencing right now, man. Okay? So it says here, George Stinney Jr. was the youngest American ever put to death in the electric chair. Then his conviction was overturned. So all of these years later, 70 years later, they've now, finally come out and confessed that, he had nothing to do with the crime. And this is the nature of Esau Edom. And let me get scripture that this come to mind, Psalms 50 and verse 20. Because Esau is known for accusing and pointing the finger at you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And this has been a constant theme throughout our captivity and still continues even unto this day. So this is Psalms chapter 50 and verse 20. And it reads, "Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. Thou slanderest thine own mother's son." All right? And this is what Esau Edom's been doing. All right? He's been doing this, man. All right? He's been slandering his own mother's son, because when we go back to the story of Jacob and Esau, all right, Esau is representative of you so-called white people, and Jacob is representative of you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Israelites. All right, and you so-called white people, all right, you go back to the man, you know, named Esau. Okay, and thus you are, you know, the biblical Edomites that the Bible speak of, aka the wicked. Okay, and this has been your nature, all right, to slander and point the finger at Jacob, man. All right, the 12 tribes, and falsely accuse us of things that we have not done. All right, that is the nature of the devil. So I'll read that one more time. "Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son." And that's exactly, you know, what took place in this trial, man, concerning George Stinney. All right, he was slandered, you know, he was falsely accused of doing something that he didn't do. Now let's go to Isaiah 10 right quick. This is Isaiah 10 and verse 1. "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed." Okay, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people. All right, this is going into, you know, Esau Edom's law system, man. Okay, his unrighteous decrees, his unrighteous laws and decisions, all right, that he passes, okay, upon the, you know, the poor, which the poor is representative of the tribes, man, you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And this is something that's been happening, you know, for decades, man. All right, Jake getting falsely accused, you know, for things they haven't done. You have an abundance of Israelites that are just sitting on death row, waiting to be executed for crimes that they haven't committed. That's why you always, you know, you always hear these stories of them being, you know, exonerated, you know, when they've been locked up for the last 50 years, man. And Esau will let them out when they're old man and their life has been wasted in jail, man. Okay? These are constant themes of Esau Edom. And that's why we got to get the hell out of here. Now, ultimately, we know and we understand through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shimi Yahushai that this is judgment, man. Okay? This is judgment upon our people, because what did we do? We went against the laws, statutes, and commandments that Yahweh Shimi Yahushai had bestowed upon us. So ultimately, this is judgment. However, Esau Edom will still pay for these things, man. Okay? Now let's go back to this article. Now it says, George Stinney Jr. was the youngest American ever put to death in the electric chair. Then his conviction was overturned. Now this is dated in 2018. All right, so it's an old article. But again, all right, the information is still valid. All right, and like I said in the beginning of the lesson, it's always good, you know, to refer back, you know, to these examples of how we can see, you know, the true nature of Esau Edom and how he is. All right, because, you know, these things were happening, you know, back then, but look, they're still happening now, man. All right, these things are still happening now. All right, Jake is still getting accused. Jake is still, you know, being shot down in the streets by Esau Edom. Okay, so there's going to be judgment that's going to come down on Esau Edom in these last days, man. And this is why it's happening for the few examples, you know, that we're reading. All right, there's also that book, I forget what the book's called, but it's basically got a whole collection of news articles going into the lynchings and the things that transpired before and after the lynchings, man. Okay, and it goes into to graphic detail regarding these lynchings. All right. Now let me scroll down, because I'm not going to read throughout the whole article, because it's a very, very long and drawn out article. All right, but I want to get to the main point, you know, leading up to his execution, and read a few of the details. All right, so let me just let me read from up here. So during the 2-hour trial, Plowden failed to call witnesses to the stand or present any evidence that would cast doubt on the prosecution's case. The most significant piece of evidence presented against Stinney was his alleged confession, but there was no written record of the teen admitting to the murders. All right, so they had no written record of George Stinney saying that he actually committed these murders. They were basically just going off of the hearsay of the officers that picked him up. All right. By the time of his trial, Stinney hadn't seen his parents in weeks, and they were too afraid of getting attacked by a white mob to come to the courthouse. All right. So his parents, all right, they were scared to even come to the courthouse, and they hadn't seen him for a month, because I believe they held him for around a month before they executed him, man. So you gotta imagine, he was just surrounded by pure Edomites that just wanted to kill him. And this is a 14-year-old boy, man. All right, you're in the hands of Esau Edom. You're surrounded by, thousands of Edomites that just want you to die. So you gotta really, envision, the experiences, all right, that have happened to these Jakes, man. All right, and what they were going through, what they were thinking. Okay, they're probably spitting in his food, all kinds of stuff. By the time of his trial, Stinney hadn't seen his parents in weeks, and they were too afraid of getting attacked by a white mob to come to the courthouse. So the 14-year-old was surrounded by strangers, up to 1,500 of them. Following a deliberation that took less than 10 minutes, the all-white jury found Stinney guilty of murder with no recommendation for mercy. Now that's another piece I wanted to focus on. It says here, with no recommendation for mercy. All right. Now this is James chapter 2 and verse 13. For he shall have judgment without mercy, that have showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. So this is why, the wicked Esau Edom are not going to receive any mercy, all right, from Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay, because they're merciless people. All right, the Lord has created them to be a vessel of wrath, all right, that are fitted for destruction upon the face of the earth. So they were never formed with the intent of being shown mercy at any stage. And that's why, again, pursuant to the book of Obadiah, they will indeed be destroyed forever and will be non-existent upon the face of the earth, man. There's a reason for these things, man. There's a reason why Esau Edom was programmed the way he was programmed. There is a reason why he is merciless. There's a reason why he is bloodthirsty, and violence covereth him as a garment, like it tells us in Psalm 673. All right, there's a reason for all of these things, because it's all as a witness against him. Okay? So I'll read that again. The all-white jury found Stinney guilty of murder with no recommendation for mercy. Now, always remember, this is a 14-year-old boy. So on April 24th, 1944, the teen was sentenced to die by electrocution. And that's a picture of him basically walking to the electric chair. And it's funny because they actually say that he was actually holding a Bible, on his way to go and get electrocuted, man. George Stinney Jr.'s execution was not without protests. In South Carolina, organizers for both white and black ministerial unions petitioned Governor Olin Johnston to grant Stinney clemency based on his young age. Meanwhile, hundreds of letters and telegrams poured into the governor's office, begging him to show mercy to Stinney. Stinney supporters appealed with everything from the basic idea of fairness to the concept of Christian justice, proving to you that, hey, these Edomites don't adhere to any Christian values, man. All right? They don't subscribe to the Bible whatsoever. Let me read that again. With everything from the basic idea of fairness to the concept of Christian justice, but in the end, none of it was enough to save Stini. Now, let me get right quick. Psalms 50 and verse 16 in the same chapter. But unto the wicked the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction and casteth my words behind thee. Exactly. So he cast the words of the scriptures behind him. He wasn't trying to show no mercy. He wasn't trying to show, any compassion. Okay? And remember, they had no evidence. They had no witnesses. And the scriptures say what? Out of 2 or 3 witnesses, man. So you have to have witnesses. So they don't adhere to the scriptures, man. All right? The Most High is not all in their thoughts, like it also tells us in the book of Psalms. On June 16th, 1944, George Stinney Jr. walked into the execution chamber at the South Carolina State Penitentiary in Columbia with a Bible tucked under his arm. All right, so he walked in with a Bible tucked under his arm. Weighing at just 95 pounds, he was dressed in a loose-fitting striped jumpsuit, strapped into an adult-sized electric chair. He was so small that the state electrician struggled to adjust an electrode to his right leg. A mask that was too big for him was placed over his face. An assistant caption asked Stinney if he had any last words. Stinney replied, "No, sir." The prison doctor probed, "You don't want to say anything about what you did?" Again, Stinney replied, "No, sir." When officials turned on the switch, 2,400 volts surged through Stinney's body, causing the mask to slip off. His eyes were wide and teary, and saliva was emanating from his mouth for all the witnesses in the room to see. After 2 more jolts of electricity, it was over. And there's also another account where they say they even took the Bible, all right, that he had in his hand. Because he was so small, all right, they actually made him sit on the Bible so he was tall enough to put the electrodes on his head, all right? So they actually made him sit on his own Bible in order to boost him up to his death. This is the wickedness of Esau Edom, man. This is why the scriptures talk about his sins, being, mounted up to heaven, roughly paraphrasing, in the book of Revelations. Stinney was pronounced dead shortly thereafter. In a span of just 83 days, the boy had been charged with murder, tried, convicted, and executed by the state. All right, and this is why, Esau is not going to receive any mercy from Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This is why he's going to be ultimately destroyed. Okay, now let me quickly get, let's get a few more scriptures, man. Right, this is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So that's the sentence. All right, that's the sentence for Esau Edom. And why? For the violence against his brother Jacob, man. All right, for the violence that he's shown onto the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. For the violence that he performed during the transatlantic slave trade and onto this day. All right, with Jake getting shot down, falsely accused, put on death row for years upon years. Okay, this is all going to be paid for. All right, and that's a righteous thing, which leads into the next scripture. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. All right, so it's actually a righteous thing, all right, to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai to recompense tribulations to those that trouble us, to those that trouble, us Negroes, Hispanics, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. It's a righteous thing to get revenge, okay? Revenge is sweet. The scriptures talk about revenge, man. That's a beautiful thing, all right? Because the Lord, doesn't deal with false balance, okay? A false balance is an abomination unto the Lord. Now let's get Genesis 9 and 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of the Most High made he man. Okay? So if you shed a man's blood, okay, unrighteously, like Esau Edom has been doing, throughout the decades, your blood must also be shed, man. And that is going to commence when Yahushua makes his return. That's why the scriptures say, wait ye upon me until I rise up to the prey. Because ultimately, this is all about Yahushua, man. Okay? This is all about Yahawashi, man. It's all about Jacob and Esau, but ultimately it's all about Yahawashi, because no one has been through what Yahawashi went through when he went up on that cross to die for the transgressions of the nation of Israel, namely the elect. Okay? No one can compare to, Yahawashi sweating blood in the Garden of Gethsemane. All right? So this really, really goes back to Yahawashi, man. This is Yahawashi is coming back, and he's going to avenge us, man, while he's avenging himself. Okay? The scriptures say, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, man. Okay? We come secondary, man. But this is all about Yahawashi, man. And let's get Revelations 1, man. All right? See, it all goes back to Yahawashi, man. Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. This is Revelations chapter 1. And verse 7, behold, he cometh with clouds. All right, that's talking about those chariots, them so-called UFOs. And every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. All right, so when Yahawashi comes back, they that pierced him to the cross, okay, they're going to see Yahawashi, man, which proves what? That proves reincarnation. But why does it mention that? Because Yahawashi is going to get his revenge, man. Even those that pierced him, all right, they're going to be judged. All right, they're going to get a heavy judgment in these last days, man, because they're alive and they're walking around, man. All right, they're probably, in the police force. They probably got high positions, in the police force. All right, and they're going to see Yahawashi upon his return, and Yahawashi is going to get his revenge, man. That's why, again, the scriptures say, wait ye upon me until I rise up to the prey, man. All right? We will get our revenge through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahawashi, man. But it will only be upon his return. All right? Now, right now, we are taking part in the spiritual warfare. That's why the scriptures say the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but spiritual. This is now a spiritual warfare, man. All right, now Esau would love it, for us to get carnal so he could once again accuse us. All right, but the elect are not going to do that, man. All right, the elect are going to wait upon Yahweh Shem Yahawashi, man. All right. Let me get the end of Obadiah and then we will close. Now, this is Obadiah. Chapter 1 and verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it, man. So you Edomites, very soon, in the very near future, all right, when Yahawashi makes his return, you are going to be extinct from off of the face of the earth, man. And that will be the end, of the nation of Esau, Edom. All right. And that's going to be, righteous judgment as prescribed through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. And with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I'll say shalom.